Hi YouTubers! Today a lot of shit pissed me off, so you guys get to listen to it.
So walk me through what happened.
I don't honestly know what happened. Okay. I was in bed asleep, and we heard a noise, and the second I was able to open my eyes, somebody grabbed me and jerked me out of the bed and slammed me down on the ground and started tying me up.
Didn't recognize anything about...
They had black masks on, black shirts, black pants. Every inch of skin was covered.
Why would someone attack this couple? Samantha, already a mother of two, ends up having 3 more children with Ernie, and the pair wed in 2014. Yet things between the two weren't picture perfect.
This video contains the interrogation of a woman who orchestrated her husband's murder. Samantha Wohlford had always dreamed of stardom. She believed she was talented and that it was only a matter of time until she was discovered. Her following on social media told another story. Her YouTube channel had only a handful of followers, and most of them didn't watch her videos regularly. The stay-at-home mother of 5 became obsessed with increasing her popularity. She tried makeup tutorials and product reviews, but her content lacked focus. She even rented a post office box for her followers to send her gifts and claimed that it was at their request. In reality, none of her followers had ever spoken to her. Wohlford habitually lied in her private life as well. Family and friends agreed that many of her stories did not add up, and there were often witnesses who could easily disprove what she was saying. The main victim of her lies was her husband, Ernie Ibarra. Ibarra was the father of 3 of Wohlford's children. He was a quiet, private person who did not share her need for fame. As Wohlford became increasingly obsessed, Ibarra grew irritated that she was using private information and their children to try to gain popularity. Ibarra was contemplating separating from Wohlford and taking the children. Wohlford wasn't about to let this happen. She enlisted the help of 3 men to kill Ibarra. One cold night in February, he was beaten, taken from his home, and then shot in the woods, where he was later found.
Have we heard anything?
We're still working on everything. Get you going. Have a seat for me. Every officer available working on this now. Called everybody in that's off. And to help us look for
Anything yet?
not yet. Let me see, you're used to go by Wohlford, is that right? So it's Samantha Wohlford. What's your date of birth, Sam?
8/28/89.
8/28/89. Now, how long? He goes by Ernie Ibarra Jr., is that correct? Or that's his birth name, is Ernie Ibarra. 8/28/89. And like I say, his birth name was Ernie Ibarra Jr., is that correct? Ernest. Okay. Everybody kind of still calls him Ernie.
Little Ernie.
Little Ernie, like his dad. Okay. And he also goes by, was there a nickname?
Dagon.
Dagon? Okay, where'd that come from?
I don't know. Everybody assumes it's from the video game Mortal Kombat. Because there's a character in there called that, but he's first out it's not. He says it comes from some Greek style mythological being, but it's not Greek, like Norwegian or something. Fish god.
Fish god. When did that come about as far as his nickname? When did that come
After he got out of prison, when he got out of prison, he never went by his birth name unless it was for work purposes.
What did he go to prison for?
Assault of an officer.
Assault on an officer. How much time did he do?
A little over a year.
Over here. Now, was it county town, or did he actually go to the state penitentiary?
Place in Dallas.
Place in Dallas. How long have you and Ernie been together?
6 years.
6 years. Now, all the kids that were in the house tonight, are those all y'all's together, or is that
The younger three are.
younger?
We got together when my daughters were 10 months old, my oldest daughters, and they'll be 7 next month.
Okay. So you've got how many kids altogether? 5. So y'all been together about 6 years or whatever. Okay. I know there was an incident, I guess it was last year sometime, where y'all got into a fight, and he had assaulted you and slapped the phone out of your hand, the phone wound up hitting, I guess, was it the youngest one? And the baby?
The middle one.
The middle one.
The youngest.
Wohlford attempts to recall what story she told the police at the time. Wohlford had hoped that being a victim would boost her popularity on social media and reported Ibarra multiple times, although there was no evidence to support her claims.
It was the brother to the twin. I keep wanting to say youngest because I guess that was you. I don't know, Caden. I don't keep forgetting to add him.
Okay. So
But he was the baby of the second set of twins.
Okay. So I remember that was kind of a rough time there when y'all were going through that, when he assaulted you.
Yeah.
We'd gotten a protective order for you against him to keep him away from you and everything. So I'm guessing that y'all had made up with him and gotten back together.
Mm-hmm.
How long after that assault happened did y'all get back together?
A few weeks after the emergency protective order actually was lifted.
Okay.
In the meantime, he found out from some judge that he could call me.
Mm-hmm.
So he had started calling me, which I told you that.
Yes, ma'am.
He can continue calling me, asking what my demands were, what he had to do to even remotely have me consider him being back in the house with us. And told me to take anger management and get help. He went through all of the anger management courses. He completed those, got a certificate, took those up to the judge. Off and on, we Skyped, and things seemed better. And so the first time I actually went to see him, it was kind of a sporadic thing. I would let him come out maybe spend the night, try again in a few days, and just. So for the first few 2 weeks or something, I just kind of wanted to feel out how he was acting, and
Sure.
then he came home.
Did y'all have any other problems going on in that time frame
Other than just kind of, he's working 2 jobs, and that's stressful enough, and he wants to come in and gripe at me and pick at me. Just typical, nothing bad.
So there hadn't been anything else going on as far as, I know you said something about you thought he might have been messing around on you.
He just randomly started coming home late within the last few weeks. Every day he's home late.
Well, I remember back when that assault happened back in 2014, if my memory serves me correctly, he'd been out at a party or a bachelor's party.
So not late like that.
Right. I mean, it was, if I'm back in 2014, that he'd been out at a bachelor party.
Out at his dad's house.
Yeah, and was possibly cheating on you, messing around, and that's what that argument started over. And he wound up assaulting you, and knocking the phone out of your hand, which in turn hit the baby in the head. That's what all that had stemmed from on that. Has there been anything else going on as far as anything else make you would think you might be cheating on?
Other than him just being home late, he gives me access to his phone, his email. He completely, I swear to God, saying there's nothing going on, but why are you home late every night?
What's your good instinct?
So far, I mean, It's back there in my mind saying that, yeah, I kind of thought that was the case, but there's no evidence to show that it was. Not like back when that happened, which, of course, after that happens, that's going to be my first shooting. He's already done it once, doing it again.
There was never any evidence to suggest that Ibarra was having an affair.
But this time, I feel like there's something he hasn't been telling me, but I don't know what.
What's your gut feeling to you?
I think it's something to do with his dad.
What do you think would be going on with it?
I hate, and I'm usually right, and I hate that, but his dad has a problem with getting involved in things that he don't need to be getting involved with.
Such as?
Drugs. He's brought drug addicts to my house. I know for a fact. Like, they are drugged out of their mind. They stopped by for a minute. It's been since before the last time he came out, because when I found out his dad was lying to me that he knew his son was cheating on me at that party and he was lying to my face, I told him I didn't need anything to do with him after that.
Sure.
So he hadn't been back around, other than he stopped by like 2 weeks ago for about 10 minutes because he called his son, which is another reason I think it's something to do with his dad. He called his son on a day off. He works at Little Caesars on weekends. One of the reasons he was home late is he had to go up to Little Caesars to pick his dad a pizza up. You don't even work tonight. Yeah, well, Dad was hungry. So you left job A, went by job B, that you don't even work today, had to make your dad a pizza, and what, take it out to his house? No. And then it was dropped, and then I was like, why is there a vehicle pulling in to drop? And it was his dad. Stopped by to pick up a pizza that he made for him. Well, the bat factory ain't very far from his dad's house. It's in Talco. His dad's house is in Talco.
Right.
And with all of the things I've heard about Ernie and all of the things he's let slip about how good he is at dealing, I almost wonder if he wasn't trying to get his son started as one of his little runners and slowly starting him in. I need you to drop this off over at such and such location. I need to drop this off at such and such location. And he was making drops for his dad and bringing him the money back. That's why he was so late every day.
Has he been using any drugs?
No.
What about you?
No. And I can take a test right now.
So have you had in the past used any drugs?
Me? No.
Never been involved in cocaine, methamphetamines,
No.
nothing?
No.
Ecstasy, none of that?
No.
No drugs at all? Marijuana?
Nope.
Nothing.
I tried marijuana once and it was not for me. I was like 15 and wanting to try things. I might have been 16. I was a teenager rebelling. And my parents always told me, no, don't do this.
Sure.
And the feeling it gave me that I'm not in control of myself feeling, I ain't touched a single thing since.
Well, over the last few days, last week or so, how's everything been between you and Ernie the last couple of weeks? Everything been okay?
Other than and I've basically just ignored the fact that he comes home late and not said anything because I don't want to sit and argue with him about it, or I don't want him to feel like I'm attacking him. Other than him coming in with typical work stresses, he was late to work, so he had a bad day at work, and he comes in a bad mood, and dinner's running a little late, so he's snippy. But just typical spouse things, nothing.
What about your
severe.
finances? Everything going?
Finances have been great.
Things okay with that?
Yeah.
Not behind on anything?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Of course, obviously you understand when something like this happens involving a spouse, obviously, I'm sure you've seen the news, you've seen deals when the wife goes missing, you look at the husband, or vice versa, look at the wife. If the husband's missing, we look at start with their inner core people, family, friends, all that, and then start working our way out, to make sure that rule all them out first to make sure that they're.
Well, I mean, you've got my family here. You can
Sure.
ask them. My mom talks to me every single day. She knows every fight we have, and she also tells me how freaking retarded and funny we are.
Wohlford is calm and almost disinterested in what is going on. Aside from her initial question, she hasn't shown much concern for Ibarra. I recently released another Patreon exclusive video, this time showing a woman who drove so recklessly she ended up plunging into a house, killing all 4 of her passengers, who happened to be her friends and co-workers. Watch her interrogation plus many more Patreon exclusive videos at patreon.com/Stranger Stories Plus.
So.
Okay. Walk me through today, or yesterday morning when what was your routine yesterday when you got up?
Yesterday, God, it seems like so long. Oh, like
Yeah.
it's 6 a.m. now.
Yeah, well, it's like Thursday morning, which was yesterday.
I got up.
Mhm.
Things were fine. Kids are in bed because I'm homeschooling them now. I let them get up. I asked Harley to go get her something to eat because I just bought a bunch of like little handheld things that she could feed themselves breakfast because I don't go out and make breakfast. I'm not one of those moms. I'm not a morning person. I go and make lunch. Breakfast, if you wake up early enough for it, it's not going to be homemade like, hey, let's go all out. So I told her to go down and get something for breakfast. All the other kids was asleep. It was just her awake. She said that she'd be right back. She went downstairs. She got this box of these little crunchy raisins. I didn't try any, so I don't know why they were crunchy. But that's what the box said. Never heard of them. It was the first time we bought them. And she asked if she could have those for breakfast. And they're the individual foil packets. And I said, sure. If that's what you want, sit there and watch TV. I'm going to take a shower. So that same room that they were in, Silver was also awake. While I'm taking a shower, she comes running in there, tattling on her sister she went in the fridge and got in the Jell-O. So I had to be me and Mom and yell and throw a fit. And then I told them they need to start getting ready. And they started getting dressed because a friend of mine had a baby. And I got them all ready to go. Socks, shoes, jackets, etc., etc. It never takes less than an hour to get out of the house. Got them all ready to go. Loaded them up in the car. Went to the hospital. Hung out with her for a while. She had a friend up there with her. And her mother is being crazy right now. And she's released tomorrow. And she'd had her mother's truck there with her. And she was being released tomorrow morning, or I guess today sometime. And she started crying because her mom came and took the truck, and she had no idea how she was going to get home. So I told her, have your friend drive me home and drop me off. Keep my vehicle here. Get a ride home. And bring my vehicle back when they get you home, or swing by and pick me up on the way, and then I can drop you off and come back. But I got to get home. She ended up being pretty upset that I had to leave her up there because she's having a lot of problems with her baby's daddy and stuff. I came home. We watched some TV. We ate. No big deal. No fighting. Everything was normal. He was actually in a really great mood. It wasn't even like he told me 5 minutes late to work. And usually that sets his whole day to be hell. Because he's, I guess, been walking a thread line with them on being late and things. And so that sets his whole day then. And so he's in a pissy mood all day. And he was actually in a really good mood. We have this app we play together. I have it on my phone, he has it on his phone. We sat and played on our app together. I make cosmetics. I started making eyeshadows and stuff, so I did that. And he read a book, which, unless the nightstand got messed up in the whole 9 yards, should still be there, sitting on the nightstand. Open to the page, like folded down the way he had it. And then he said he had to get in bed because he had to work both jobs today. And that, so we went to bed. Or he went to bed. I was trying to find a remote so that I could watch Vampire Diaries because I'm highly addicted to that show. I ended up not able to find the remote. He had his head all covered up and he was, I thought, asleep.
Wohlford is giving an excessive amount of detail and seems to be enjoying the attention.
He pulled his head out from under the covers and was like, I can't sleep. Why? Because I can't stop thinking. Well, what about? What's going on? I want you. Like, I'm not going to be able to sleep until I can. So we had sex, rinsed off in the shower, I dried up with a towel, threw a shirt on and my pajama pants, and went to bed and woke up to all that chaos. So it was a perfectly normal day. There was nothing out of the, he was late home from work, but other than that, there would be nothing that lately that's become normal. And I don't even know, like I said, he said, usually it's always in Hastings, he told me that at 2:30, which is an hour before he's supposed to get off work, the design he had made for this new bat had been like 1/8 of an inch off, so it was going to cut part of the design off, and then when they shifted it on the bat, it looked completely wrong, so he had to completely redo it. Could be just some big, long, elaborate lie, or it could be perfectly true, I don't know, but he didn't make it home until like 5:40. But lately, that's fairly normal.
Now, after you went out at 6, got a shower, went to bed, were the kids already asleep?
Yeah, they're already asleep.
They're already asleep, okay. Do you remember about what time it was when you went to bed?
I looked over at the clock and it was like 12:01, and I was like, yeah, you've got to get to bed because you have to be up in 5.5 hours.
Sure. Then, do you remember about how long after it was when that happened, when you got woke up with whoever it was in the room?
I don't know how long they were there, but I do have where I called my mother with my face on my phone.
So when you were laying there in bed, you and Ernie there on the bed, far bedroom back there, what's your first, I guess, memory of what's going on? What's happening?
Well, I took an Ambien, so it makes it a little harder for me to wake up. And I have the prescription with me if you want to see that. But when I can't sleep, it's supposed to shut your brain down so you can go to sleep, but also make it to where you can wake up fairly easy. Of course. I remember at some point, it was a little after 1, I saw the clock, maybe on my phone. So it's still pretty foggy because it's fairly early to wake up after taking a sleeping pill. Somebody jerking the blankets down, which startled me. And then something being pressed against my throat, and they grabbed me by the hair and started jerking me out of bed. I, at that point, wasn't even aware of what was going on with him until he already had me slammed face down on the ground and was tying my hands together. And I rolled my head and looked to the side.
During this supposed struggle, none of Wohlford's 5 young children were disturbed, which is another point that raises the detective's suspicion.
And could see some commotion going on, but it was pitch black in my room. And they were all wearing black.
Could you tell if they had anything where they were able to see with, or how they were able to move?
One of them had, I don't know if it was attached to their gloves, because they were all wearing gloves. I don't know if it was like a mechanism that was attached to a glove, or one of those little like headlight things wrapped around their hand, or a flashlight. And it sounds crazy, but it seemed like his hand was open and he had a little bit of light coming, because it was like a little mini flashlight. It was small. I don't think he had a cell phone in his hand, because if I am remembering perfectly correctly, I feel like his hand was open and it still had light. So I don't know if it was something that was attached to his jacket, but that's how they were seen. And he flashed in my eyes at one point, which made it seem even harder, which is how I know for a fact, like when he went like this and flashed it in my face, I swear his hand was open, so he wasn't holding on to something.
Now, were they saying anything or doing anything when they came into the room? When they were dragging over, what were they saying, or what were they?
And the guy that was, it was all guys. I don't remember hearing a female voice. And to me, just a bunch of shut up, bitch, don't make any noise, don't make me have to hurt you, blah, 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 and hold still, hold your hands together. And I was trying to be as cooperative as possible because I didn't want to die.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do whatever you say, just please don't kill me, I've got kids.
Mm-hmm. So when they drag you out of bed, what happens at that point once they drag you out of bed?
Drag me to the bed and slow me down, floor face down, and press the blade that he had against my throat in between my shoulder blades. And while he's tying my hands, there's a bunch of fighting going on, and I can't tell who's who or what's going on, just that there's other commotion going on, so I knew that they got it woke up. And then somebody that was dealing with him said, get the fuck out of here, get the fuck out of here. And that's when he dragged me over, not far from the kids' bedroom. And I was praying to God, they never went over there and realized there was any kids in the house. And they kept hitting him. Every time I kept tying things around his head because my eyes were adjusting at this point, and I'm able to see more. And what they were wrapping around his face was white.
Wohlford sprinkles truth into her story occasionally. She was not tied up herself, but she did watch as her accomplices beat Ibarra.
And they just kept wrapping around his face over and over. So basically, like, this part of his face down was completely wrapped up. I don't even know if he was able to breathe. I know that when they wanted an answer from him, they jerked it down like this. But before that, I don't even know if he was able to breathe. And they tucked his hands on his back. And I don't know what they used to do that. I didn't see. And then it got him down the stairs and left me upstairs with a guy holding a blanket on me. And I could hear him hitting him in the living room and yelling, but I couldn't tell what was being said. And then they told them to bring me down. And that's when he brought me down. And it was like they were just using me as a tool to taunt him so that he would talk, and I don't even know about what.
What kind of questions were they asking?
Tell me what you know. Tell me what you know. I know that you know. But they would never let on to what. And then that's when his dad got brought up. He had one of ours put behind bars, so now I'm taking his. And they made him tell him where his ID was. And they pushed the lid and rolled it in my throat and said, if he tells the truth, it's one in the truck. It is. I promise you never take it out of the truck. Please don't kill me, it's in the truck, I promise. And they went out to his truck to make sure they had the right house. And they asked him who I was, and he said I was his wife. And they said, so she's just married into your family. She's not actually blood your family. And he said, no, that's my wife. They said, do you want us to have to kill her too? And he said, no, please don't. How are my kids? And they hit him in the mouth. Are my kids okay? And they hit him in the mouth, and he said, we wouldn't fucking touch a child. And it flew out of his mouth. I don't know if it was a tooth or if it was just spit or blood.
The story is dramatic, but Wohlford forgot one crucial detail. There would be no blood at the scene to support her story.
Something flew out of his mouth because they had the lights on down there. And that's when they started cutting my clothes off and making me stand in front of them naked. And it just felt like they were just using me to taunt him. And then when they made me go outside to tell him bye, I just knew they were going to shoot him right there. They had him in the execution position on his knees. I never heard a gunshot. But they took me back upstairs before they left.
So when did they start tying you up?
As soon as they got me out of the bed.
Okay. What all did they do? What all did they tie up when they got you out?
They wrapped it around my mouth and tied my hands behind my back. They didn't tie my legs together until right before they left me there. Right before I had to wobble over to get my phone. Because they were forcing me to walk, and things on my own and just helping me steady myself because I couldn't catch myself. My hands were tied behind my back. My mouth was tied. I'm surprised it didn't split my mouth. It was tied so tight.
She didn't recognize the voice.
I tried listening to everything. They forced him to tell me not to call the police. And he said, don't call the police. And they punched him in the mouth with the gun. And said, that's not what I said for you to tell her. He said, please tell me what to say again. Please just repeat it. So they repeated it, and I couldn't understand what they were saying because they were so close to his face and growling in his ear. And he said, Sam, don't call the police. I don't care what happens. Don't call the police because they'll come back and they'll kill all the kids. Promise me. And he was screaming at me, and I was like, I promise.
It doesn't make sense that the children would be used as a threat, but none of the intruders would check to see if they were awake or trying to escape. Wohlford claims she was screaming, and at least one child should have woken up with that sort of disturbance.
And that's when they took me back upstairs. And there was a bunch more yelling and cussing, and I couldn't understand any of it. Once they took me upstairs, I couldn't understand what they were saying. Other than every once in a while, I would pick up Ernie's name. And anybody that knows little Ernie, unless it's his family, doesn't call him Ernie. They call him Daghart.
And when they were leaving, did you hear a vehicle?
I didn't hear a vehicle. I didn't see a vehicle. I thought they would steal his truck. And then I would be able to get it tracked that way. Because I never saw a vehicle at all.
Okay, you didn't hear anyone leave or anything?
But no. When I called my mom, I was terrified they were going to come back in. I hung up on her like twice because they did come back in the house rummaging around and digging through stuff. But I never heard or saw a vehicle until Brett showed up. That was the first vehicle I heard. So I don't know if they were close by or if they just parked a few roads over and carried him there. I don't know.
What was he wearing when y'all went to bed? Did he have any clothes on?
He had his boxers on and he said, I need something to drink. What about you? I was like, oh, that would be so great. And so he put on his jeans that he had been wearing that day. And he went downstairs. And he came back up and he sat down. He handed me my soda. And we sat and we drank the soda and smoked a cigarette. So it was probably 12:15. 12:20 before we actually laid down and turned the lights out. He handed me his phone and he was like, I have these hunts on my phone that you can do. And I was like, that sounds really, really good. This is an app that's pretty elaborate that we play. And he was like, I haven't done any of them. You can play those. I know because my phone got stolen last week. So mine's like locked in transition. I've contacted support, but I can't play. So I downloaded the other version of it so that it doesn't mess up my version. And so I played that while he's playing that, but I saved all my hunts so you could do those at least. Because his tablet wouldn't charge for whatever reason. It wouldn't turn on. He dropped it and the button on it like dipped it in and now he can't turn it on that way. You have to like plug it in and unplug it for it to light the screen up for you to be able to swipe it. So he messed with that. He couldn't get it to come on, so I couldn't play it on there. And so I was like, okay, I'll do a couple of those, but I'm so tired. And he started laughing. He goes, I hear that. And then the cat came in and jumped in bed with us. And he started petting the cat. And I was like, yeah, I've done 3 and you have 5, plus you got a bunch in your inbox. And I'm really tired, but I appreciate you doing that for me.
Wohlford stresses how well they were getting along, failing to mention Ibarra's dissatisfaction with their relationship.
No. And when he come back upstairs, he had his pants on upstairs.
And he didn't take them off before he got back in bed, which is fairly normal. I mean, he doesn't, these pants that he usually wears has this fuzzy lining inside, so they're similar to pajama pants. Fleece-lined cargo pants, and if he has to put his clothes back on before he goes downstairs or something, he just sleeps on them.
Okay, So
He
when
doesn't-
came back
he can't-
upstairs, he didn't take those pants off. Okay. But the pants that are laying on the floor in the living room,
Those are his.
Those are the ones that he had on.
Yes.
Okay. And when they drove you downstairs, to see him, whatever, what did he have on?
He still had his pants on.
He still had his pants on.
Uh-huh.
Okay. You don't know why they took his pants off?
No. I know there was yelling, but there's no way to see what's going on upstairs without trying to get over to the balcony, and I had somebody holding a knife on me and didn't want to draw any attention to the kids' room at all.
Right.
And the only place that you can see into the living room is right next to the kids' bedroom door.
Now, could you hear anything at all that they were saying or what they were talking about as far as...
Not when I wasn't in the room.
Okay. When you were in the room, what were they talking about or what were they saying?
Mostly just, your dad caused this. Keep this in mind. Your dad caused this. And then he would throw jabs at him about being a terrible husband or unappreciative of his life. You had a wife that loves you. Look at her face. Isn't she beautiful? Look how much she loves you. Look how much she's crying. And he didn't want to look at me. And so they hit him again.
I know you said something about some money or...
Yeah. He said, what do I have to do? Please don't kill me. What do I have to do? And he said, $20,000. You want to know what you have to do? Can you come up with $20,000 in the next 5 minutes? And he's kind of laughed. Which caused him to hit him again. And he said, no, I can't come up with $20,000 in 5 minutes. You can take my track. You can take whatever's in my wallet. I don't have much. But it's the only thing that worth value I've got.
Wohlford has supposedly just gone through a traumatic experience, yet she is able to recall everything the men said almost verbatim, as well as remembering each action in the order that it occurred. This is not a typical reaction from a victim. More often, this is the type of story made up by the person who committed the crime.
When their voice, think back, you're looking at these guys and you remember the sound of their voice. What did they sound like? What was they sound like? Black, Hispanic?
One of them definitely sounded white. Like the ringleader that was making all the orders. One of them could have either been black or just raised in the hood. Because anytime he said anything, it was very gangster sounding. Very.
Gangster sounding?
He didn't finish his words. He had, instead of adding a G, it always ended in an N. And it just, the way he said things.
I know you'd said when they had a handgun.
Yeah. And then the other two had box knives.
Okay.
And I think one of them they may have stolen off his pants because it was like a red folding blade knife that he buys like crazy. If he loses one at work, he goes and buys another one because he's a fan of them. They got a locking blade and you can't open them unless you know how to do it. So the kids couldn't hurt themselves on it if they got it off of his pants. And he always kept them on his pants because he had open boxes and things at work. And God, I used it for everything. I'd have, hey, toss me your knife. And it just turned into his typical pocket knife. And the guy that sawed his hair off and threw on the floor was using a red knife exactly like that. So I don't know if they brought it or if they stole it.
Now, what did the handgun look like?
It was just black. I don't know anything about guns.
Do you know the difference between like a revolver and an automatic?
Oh, it was definitely like a police pistol. It was whatever those are.
Semi-automatics. It wasn't
It was small, barely bigger than his hand. He was a big guy, so I don't really know if that's a normal sized gun and he just has large hands or.
Where did they have Ernie and where was he at down when y'all were downstairs? Where did they have him?
No, right
Kitchen?
beside the hardwood floor in the living room.
Okay. Right there close to the front door?
Yeah.
over close to
And they had me standing in the doorway when they cut my clothes off.
Mhm.
Right there in front of him, forcing him to watch, holding his head back and forcing him to watch. And you don't want anything to happen to your pretty little wife, do you? No, I don't. I'll walk right. And they forced me to come and kneel down in front of him, like shove me down onto my knees. So we were face to face. I was on the hardwood floor, he was on the carpet.
what were they saying when you had?
That's when they were asking him about the money and when he asked about the kids, because now I'm here in the living room with him. So he asked about the kids, and that's when they hit him in the face, and it looked like they knocked their tooth out. It was when I was right there face to face that I got the majority of what they were saying.
Now, where was he in the living room when they were hitting him, striking him in the face?
Right there, close to the door on his knees.
So was he
One was holding him, and the other one was hitting him.
over by the couch, or over by the fireplace, or
No, closer to the door, like not far from where his hair was, because the guy pulled his hair up, sawed it off, and dropped it beside him, right beside Dagon.
So that's where you saw
Pretty
him.
much where he was, and that's where I saw them hitting in the face with a pistol.
And you didn't hear weapon discharge or anything?
No.
Like that outside?
No, I would have lost it.
But you never be believed or anything? Driving
I never heard a vehicle at all until Brett showed up.
Doors slamming, anything like
No,
that?
not except when they sent the other guy that had been holding it up on me out to check and see if his ID did say that he was already out there.
So they didn't know him on site?
No.
So that's why they kept asking?
That's when they kept asking him and making him tell him his name and ask my name and even ask him where his ID was because they wanted to make sure they had the right person. So it wasn't anybody we knew at all. They forced him to show us
The, like I said, when I was talking about earlier about, where we have to, look at close friends, family, things like that first to try to get a line on things. One of the things they need to do, obviously, I'm going to need to take some pictures, where they were holding it to your neck and your wrist.
It was on this side.
They'd held the
I mean, he slapped me in the face on this side, but my aunt said it didn't bruise or anything. Definitely felt like it should have rang my bell.
Okay. Like I said, what I'm going to do is just take some pictures of your hands where they bound you and your legs where they bound you and right there on your neck and everything on that. One of the other things also that I need to do, like I said, we just have to do everything we can to rule everybody out first also, is I need to do, just check your hands, make sure there's not any blood or anything on your hands. Not anything on the jewelry or anything like that. No injuries, marks, cuts, anything. Okay. Another thing, what I'll need to do is, since there was a handgun that you said that was involved in that, I need to do what's called a GSR test, which is a gunshot residue kit. Just check your hands, make sure you
I've never held a gun in my life, so
Okay. Well, what I'll need to do, would you be willing to consent to that?
Yes.
Just let me test you.
whatever it takes to get him found, I don't care.
Okay.
We may have our problems, but I would never put him through this.
Sure.
Everything that happened to Ibarra was carefully orchestrated by Wohlford. She could have called off the plan at any time, but she didn't have any regrets, even as he pleaded for his life.
There's the pictures. So do they have a location thing? They haven't found anything else?
No, not yet. You have no idea who might have taken him, who might have been
The only thing I can think of is his dad screwed somebody around and they were trying to get back at him.
Right. Okay. But you yourself, you didn't have any involvement in this?
No.
Nothing whatsoever?
I had no idea that anything was going on until I was yanked out of bed.
Now, have you been seeing anybody else? Or?
No.
Okay, so you haven't been. It's not another jealous boyfriend,
Nope.
nothing like that going on.
Nope.
Nobody.
No, when we decided to work things out, he's had access to my phone to go through my phone.
And when y'all were split up, was there any?
Ibarra separated from Wohlford to decide if he wanted to continue the relationship. In her pursuit of fame, she had started to neglect the children, and he was afraid that they wouldn't be able to thrive in that sort of environment.
No, I go out and visit my mom a lot and go to the bar there. And I met quite a few people that were friends and stuff, but nobody that was anything special.
Nobody that you're intimate with, anything
No.
like that would have some kind of an attachment to you
No.
or anything. And as far as you yourself, you didn't have any involvement in this whatsoever.
No.
You and Ernie didn't get into a fight.
No.
Things didn't get out of hand. You didn't.
No.
You didn't shoot him. You didn't stab him. You didn't hit him with a bat.
No.
A piece of metal. Kick him in the face. You didn't do anything
No.
to cause any kind of injury.
No.
Okay. You're positive about that.
Yes.
And I'm
Like
not-
I said,
I'm not gonna
if
find out anything any different about that.
No.
Right now, what we've got is, I don't know if you're familiar with what they call tracking dogs. Okay, that track by scent and everything. I've got those dogs that are probably already up at your house right now that came from the prison in Boston. Okay, what they're
that's
gonna
what
do-
I asked that guy, one of the other deputies was, can I give you some of his clothes?
They're going to
Go search the area where his cell phone pinged.
They're going to be tracking that area where his cell phone. They're going to be tracking the area there at the house. But what I have to make sure from you is that you absolutely had no involvement in this whatsoever.
No.
Okay, so like I say, you two weren't fussing, you weren't
No.
fighting.
Wohlford is skirting the truth. While they weren't outright fighting, Ibarra was still unhappy, a feeling which he shared with his family. She is being truthful about not taking a physical part in his death, but that does not make her any less responsible.
Didn't get out of hand, you didn't punch him, kick him, stab him, shoot
No.
him, nothing like that. And I'm not going to find out anything any different later
No.
once we get there, because the deputies, they're out there right now, basically searching your house from top to bottom for every piece of physical evidence that we can find to
Anything that'll help them find him.
Right. Well, actually, say that's why I want to make sure, because we're going to be checking your phone records, your family's phone records. Was there anybody in your family that's involved in this?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Not that you're aware of.
No.
Okay. Would there be any reason why any of your family members wouldn't be involved in what hurt Ernie?
Brett's had problems with him in the past, but as far as taking it to the point of kidnapping him, no.
So you think, well, obviously you know Brett's voice, so
I would know Brett, yes.
Okay, so you
Very well.
So you don't feel like Brett had any
No.
involvement in this? What about your mom or anybody? You didn't got any problems with Ernie
No.
to the point they want to do something?
They've had their little problems or whatever, but nothing that would go to this level, no.
And I'm not going to find any kind of evidence to the contrary that
No.
you were involved in. What about a polygraph? Would you be willing to take a polygraph
Yes.
to prove to me that you had no involvement, no knowledge, no nothing
Yes.
involved in this? Okay. And like I said, that's probably going to be a possibility, depending on what we're
Sorry,
able to.
my Facebook's attached to my phone and it vibrates every time somebody makes a status update.
I understand. But part of the procedure also, like I said, checking your phone records for the last few months, is are we going to find any kind of, establish anything as far as anybody that's involved in this and not connected to your phone?
No.
Okay. You're sure?
This is a poorly thought out lie on Wohlford's part, since the police will discover texts and calls between her and her accomplices.
Yeah, I would recognize a voice that I knew.
No, I'm talking about as far as you being involved in your husband's experience.
No.
Okay. So you had absolutely nothing to do with it.
No, I had absolutely nothing to do with this. I would not be this cooperative if I did.
Well, just because the person cooperated doesn't mean they didn't do something. Obviously, if someone wants to throw us off.
Have I thought about it? Have I thought about stabbing him? Oh, more than once. Have I thought about shooting him if I had a gun? The thought is, and I'm not going to say the thought hasn't crossed my mind. He's had me to the point that I wanted to kill his ass.
Wohlford believes this admission will make her more believable, but this tactic never works. At most, she won't be accused of hiding those feelings later on, after her friends have been questioned.
And that's what happened last night?
No.
He didn't have you to that point last night?
No. We were not fighting at all.
So
And-
what would get you to the point where you want to shoot him or stab him?
To see him lay his hands on my kids.
When's the last time you did that?
Back when I had him arrested.
Wohlford called the police on Ibarra multiple times. There was never any sign of injury on the children, and the children said when questioned that Ibarra never harmed them.
When he hasn't laid
And
his
I informed the
hands?
cops then, he's got to stay away from me because after doing this to my kids,
But he hasn't done
No.
it since.
no, that was one of the stipulations on us getting back together. He is not allowed to discipline them at all.
Okay. So as far as last night,
No, we were getting along great. There was nothing.
so I'm not going to find anything to the contrary. It's sure nothing. Deputies aren't going to call me here in a few minutes and say, hey, look, what we found here on the scene's not matching what she's telling us
No.
happened.
And the only thing on my phone that wouldn't say to the contrary is he sent me a text message that said answer your GD phone. Because he said he called me over and over and over and over and over, and I wasn't answering when I was up at the hospital.
But as far as last
But then when I got, this was yesterday, and then when I got home, things were fine. I expected to walk into him being mad because he swears he called me a million times and I didn't answer. But when I walked in the door, things were fine. Have a good fun, baby. And he was just so calm and happy and loving.
Well, like I say, once the investigators are out there, they're not going to call me here in a few minutes and say, look, we found evidence out here to the contrary of what Samantha's telling you, that's what she's saying ain't what the scene's telling us. Because the scene's going to be able to, what you're telling me happened, and when they look at the scene out there, they'll be able to tell if that's what's going on. Okay. Now, as far as you haven't lied to me about anything,
No.
you haven't forgotten anything, nothing you need to change, nothing you need to tell me that's any different about what's going on, what actually happened out there.
No,
So you didn't lay your hands on her, you
No.
didn't touch her, you didn't have
No.
anybody touch her,
no,
you didn't have any involvement whatsoever
No.
in this.
not at all.
And when the dogs come out there, I mean, they're not going to lead us out there, find them there in the house, under the house, in the woods around the house, anything like that.
God, I hope not. I hope he's found alive.
Sure. Well, I hope so too. But like I say, that's usually when we have things like this, obviously because you were actually there when this happened, so that's why I'm having to ask you all these tough
I
questions
I
and
understand.
being rough on you on this because I need
I
to know the
understand.
truth. I have to absolutely know the truth that you had no possible involvement in this whatsoever.
No,
You love her?
I didn't. I wouldn't have gone back if I didn't.
What all are you willing to do to help me find him?
Whatever it takes.
But you don't know where he is.
No, I don't.
You're
I wish I did.
You're positive.
I'm
You
positive.
have absolutely no idea where he's at.
No, I don't.
You know who we can call to find where he's at?
The only one I can think is Ernie because they kept bringing him up.
But other than that, you have no
Other
idea.
than that, I have no idea. None. He doesn't have any friends. I don't go out much. The one friend that I do really have lives in Sulphur Springs.
Right.
I don't like drama. I don't like having outside chaos, so I just stay home. I'm just a stay-at-home mom.
As far as last night, y'all didn't have any kind of fights, no arguments, no nothing.
No,
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing to get to this point.
There was likely not a fight that night, since Wohlford would want to catch him off guard.
no,
To where the blood seen there in the living room, the hair being cut off, and blood in the living room, none of that.
no,
Had absolutely nothing to do with you.
no.
You're positive.
Yes.
And the clothing that you had on there, because like I said, we'll have to send your clothes to the lab, have it tested, and make sure that there's no blood on there from him. The lab's gonna come back and say, look, what we found on her clothing does not match her statement of what she's saying happened. That just that's not the case.
No, it should be fine.
It should be or it will be.
I was right there, no, in front of him, nose
Right.
to nose with him.
Right.
And
Well,
they
I
were
can-
punching him in the face with a gun.
Right. And I understand that. I mean, if you got some blood on you from that, they'll be able to tell by the
If
way the
it's-
blood's on you, if it came in sideways, upside down, across you, whatever. Like if you two are right up here like me and you're this close together and they're punching or hitting you, the way the blood comes on someone, the way we tell the lab what this happens when they examine your clothes and look for blood, gunshot residue, anything, hairs, fibers, whatever type of evidence, when they look at your clothing, they'll be able to tell us, okay, look, this is what we found, based upon
The
their
only
statements.
type of DNA from him that should be able to be found in my clothes would be semen.
Okay. And what about the blood? How were you up close with him when they punched him?
Yes.
Okay, so you think there might be some blood on there?
Well, I didn't, inspect for
Right.
splatter or anything like that. When they jerked me away from him and cut my clothes off, I never touched him
So it's
again.
possible that.
So there may be. But is it because I laid my hands on him? No, my hands were tied behind my back. And I'm watching this guy punch him in the face with a gun over and over.
How'd that make you feel?
Horrible.
Okay. So
I was hysterically bawling.
So that didn't make you feel glad or
No.
there's some torture or
No.
because you told me that you felt good about wanting to stab him, kill him.
At some point in time, everybody loses their temper. But have I ever acted out and hurt anybody?
Right.
No. And you can look at my record on that. I have one count of criminal mischief, and that was because I tossed my keys to somebody and let them use my car.
Sure.
And they didn't have a license.
Now, when they cut your shirt off of you, was it violent or they just
Yes.
took their time and just?
No, they jerked it out and started slashing at it with this apparently dull box cutter, and then when it didn't work, ripped it off over my head and threw it to the side.
So it wasn't completely cut in half. Right?
No, they started cutting like they were going to cut it down or across, and the blade wasn't working, so they said, "Fuck this shit," and ripped it off over my head.
But as far as tonight, you had nothing to do with
No.
this appearance. You don't know who did anything.
No.
You're positive about that.
Yes.
So you look me in the face. I need to know the truth. Did you have anything to do with Ernie's disappearance?
Wohlford is able to look the detective in the eyes and lie. She has always wanted to be an actress and believes herself to be convincing.
No. And I
Did
would
you have anything to do with his death tonight?
No. Dead. He's dead?
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to find out.
Yes, if he is dead, no.
Do you think he's alive?
I hope so.
Did you have anything to do with it?
No.
You had nothing to do with his
No.
disappearance? Nothing, if God forbid he is found deceased, did you have anything to do with it?
No.
Did you hire someone to do it?
No.
You had nothing, absolutely nothing to do with it.
Absolutely nothing. And I've heard it to God that they're just like holding him to get at his dad. Yeah, I really, really don't want to plan a funeral for my husband.
Well, like I say, the reason why I'm having to ask you these tough questions is because I need to know. I need to be
I
absolutely.
know that they always look at the spouse first.
I have to be absolutely positively sure you had nothing to do with this.
I know. No, wait, no.
Sure. There's not anybody that you can think of anybody I can call and talk to other than Ernie. That's the only person they brought up. The only thing they
That's
said.
the only thing they said that had any validity other than the other guy's name was, some guy's name was Luke.
What did they say about Luke?
He was upstairs. He was the one that had me at knife point.
Okay, so that's the guy.
And they said, Luke, I need you.
Okay.
And he left me upstairs.
So you don't know anybody that.
I don't know any other names.
Anybody that Dagon hangs out with named Luke? Anybody?
No, he's only got like 2 friends, and one is named Josh, and the other one's name is Brandon, and we never see those unless we run into them at town. As far as if he's been hanging out with anybody, his sister and her boyfriend, Lainey.
Well, what I need to get you to do for me is just get you to write me out a statement about everything
I
that's
just did that.
wrote something out.
Yes, I wrote it out to one of the officers.
How much of a statement was it?
It was a full page.
A full page. What happened? Okay. Well, what I need you to do for me is make me a list of everybody. Friends, family, contact numbers. His boss, where he works at Little Caesars. His boss, where he works at the Talco Woodcraft. His
There's
mom,
like 4 bosses at
That's
Little
fine.
Caesars,
Everybody's
but
name
I don't know.
Everybody's name that you can think of, start making me a list of everybody. Where he works at Little Caesars, Woodcraft, his mom, Elaine, numbers, everything that you can think of, okay? All right. I'm going to need to take this one for just a second, okay? And I'll bring it right back to you, okay?
Okay.
Okay. And what I get you to do for me also is just take this right here, and like I say, just start writing down everybody you can think of, you know, his bosses, where he works, phone numbers.
Why do you need my phone?
And I just got to check it real quick.
Okay.
And just start thinking of everything that you could possibly think of, friends, families, everybody that I can contact that might be able to help us track him down and find out where he's at. Okay? Need something else to drink or anything?
My mom brought me something to eat and she's here, so. I don't know any numbers without my phone.
Okay, well, I'll bring it back to you. If you can just start making a
I
list.
can't, the only number I've memorized is my mother's.
Okay, well, if you can just make a list of names for me, friends, families, parents, everybody.
And with me having a new phone, I don't have very many of the numbers I would need.
What I am is I'm pretty much what they consider an expert in this field. I've worked a lot of these. And I look at these. Okay, let me tell you something, Sam. I've been out there on the crime scene and look, and this is why that it's very important, honey, that we want you to be honest, because I'm going to tell you what, the evidence we found on the scene, it's just not matching. I don't think you harmed this boy, but I think you know who did. Because if somebody's gonna kidnap him, why is there his blood in y'all's pickup? Kidnappers ain't gonna use their pickup to do something with him and then put him out there and put him in the truck and haul him back.
In his pickup, his blood?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, somebody,
I don't know.
it's apparent to me that somebody used his truck to take him somewhere after he was assaulted at y'all's house.
I told him that they got into his truck because they wanted his ID. Because they said they needed to verify 100% they had the right person, is what they said.
This does not make sense. The motivation to the crime was allegedly personal, so Ibarra would have been easily recognizable.
I don't know if they were one of the people that hit him or not. They sent somebody out to the truck to get his wallet to check his ID. Came back in and said, yes, he is who he says he is.
Okay, but that still don't explain why his blood is in that truck.
They hit him in the face like 100 times.
Well, no, but you said they went out and did it and got it. He was never supposed to be in that truck.
If they had blood on their hands and got in the truck.
No, it's drip blood. It's not.
It's drip blood?
Yes, he was in that truck. So that tells us that the evidence shows that
He was in the
he was in that truck. Right. Hold on, I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay, let me call you right back. I'm in here talking to Samantha. Okay. Okay, yeah, because you know what we think? We don't think he's gonna be far. We've got things on his phones, because whoever did this didn't have the mind to take his phone. And it's too late now because we've got the coordinates, we've got the pings. We're working on that. We've also got the Tilford dogs coming out. I think we're gonna find him, and I think he's hurt. I really do. And this,
but not dead, right?
well, I don't know. And this is what's gonna look so bad is from your story, and this is why you don't have to be a suspect, and I still don't think you did it. I don't think you're strong enough to do it. But I personally, I think you're scared. I don't know if you had a boyfriend that you found out about.
I didn't have a boyfriend.
Okay. I don't know what the deal is, but Sam, you've got your kid was in the same room. There's just the whole layout of your house and the way you said they took him. It's just not making sense. And then there's blood in his truck.
To me either.
It's just, and when we find him and we get this thing solved, I'm hoping that this is not going to come back and show them that you told us a bunch of lies, because normally that's what happens. I'm not saying it does all the time, and I'm not saying you are. Okay? But I'm telling you, we're going to work on this till we find him, and I think when we find him, the pieces are going to come together. And I just hope those pieces don't come back to you.
There's no reason they should. I hope they come back together,
Okay.
and I hope that he's okay. I know they hit him like so many times in the face.
How do you know? Did you see it?
Yeah, they had me on my knees, forcing him to look at me. It was like they were using me like some kind of taunting factor.
Okay, when did they do that? At what point did they?
They brought him into the living room, and they were punching him in the face with a gun. And they brought me in the living room, and they knelt me down. They forced me down on my knees, and they were trying to ask him questions about his dad.
What kind of questions did they ask you?
They asked him, "You know, don't you? You know, don't you?" And he wasn't answering because they had his face taped up, and he would just shake his head. And they said, "Do you want us to hurt this pretty little wife of yours?" And he, no. And they cut my shirt off of me, and
they what?
They cut my shirt off of me. It was making me stand there with nothing on from the waist up.
Where's your shirt at that they cut?
They cut it off and they threw it to the side, and one of the deputies got it.
Okay, so it was in the house?
Yeah.
Because I hadn't gotten that far yet. I was outside
Yes.
at the truck, looking at the evidence on the truck, because that's odd that his blood is in his shirt.
Well, we were knelt down in the living room, and they asked him where his keys were. And he said upstairs by the bed, and they said, "What? Upstairs by the bed." I could hear him kicking stuff around and throwing stuff around upstairs. And one of the guys that went upstairs said, "Got him." And we were in the living room, knelt down. I had a knife to my throat, and he had a guy punching him in the face with a gun. He never pointed it at him, never tried to shoot him with it, but he kept hitting him with the gun in the face, like sideways. The gun was in his hand like this, and he was hitting him with the gun.
There's something off about this description. Typically, the butt of a gun is used to strike someone. The position that Wohlford claims was used would be awkward and uncomfortable, with a greater risk of the gun going off unintentionally.
And he was using his left hand. I'm right-handed, but he was using his left hand, and that seemed odd to me because there's not very many left-handed people. And one of our daughters is left-handed, so it's just...
Did he touch your throat with that knife?
Yes, he had it against my throat like this.
Is there any
He
marks?
was behind me, no. But he was pushing it against my throat, and every time
And your kids never woke up through any of this?
they were upstairs in their bedroom. When you're upstairs in my house, you don't hear anything that's going on downstairs or outside. When they took me back upstairs and started questioning him more, the only thing I could tell was they were hitting him and that they were yelling, but no words. I couldn't, other than just tiny, like, Ernie. They kept talking about Ernie, his dad. Because anybody that knows my husband knows he goes by Dagon. He doesn't go by Ernie.
I thought you told him earlier that you was up in your bedroom when they were beating him.
They did. They brought me into the living room and forced me on my knees in front of him. And they was asking him about his dad.
What were they asking him?
Where his, you know, don't you? You know, don't you? Know what? They never said. He said, "How do I get out of this?" They said, "You got $20,000? He said, "You got $20,000 in the next 5 minutes?" He said, "No, I don't." Or he kind of laughed, which caused him to punch me in the face again. And he said, "No, I don't. You take my truck, you can have my truck. It's the only thing that I have of value, you can take it." "Oh, yeah, I'm going to do that so that you can then call and have it reported as stolen and they can hunt me down?" "I don't think so."
Now, what point did they tape his mouth up? I thought you said they had his mouth taped up where he couldn't talk.
They slid it down when they started, "What can I do? What can I do?" When they were asking him, "You know, don't you?" They ripped it down to his throat so it was around his neck. They taped his mouth up upstairs and drug him down the stairs. When they had him on his knees in the living room, they kept asking him, and he was mumbling, so they yanked
You
it
think they
down
were
around
white,
his
black,
neck.
Hispanic, or?
One of the guys sounded white. For sure. He didn't have any kind of accent at all.
This man was the boyfriend of one of Wohlford's friends. He was the first person she convinced to help her kill Ibarra.
One of the guys was either black or had been in the prison system or around black guys. Because he definitely had the slang and the sound of a black man. But they were all wearing masks, their whole face, baggy black shirts, baggy black pants, shoes like something like this, but black, and gloves.
Okay. All right, we'll finish writing your statement like we need, okay? You need something to drink?
He left with my phone.
Where did he take that?
Well, we've got a search warrant for your phone. That phone's gonna be ours for a while. Because the calls, every call you've made probably within the past year, we're gonna have to look at.
Okay.
Every text message, everything. So we've got a search warrant for your phone. Okay.
Okay.
That's why I say, I just think you're digging yourself a hole.
I'm telling you everything I know. I'm repeating everything they've said.
Okay. Well, just go ahead and do you got your statement. We'll get back with you in a minute, okay?
You can look at my record. I'm not somebody that gets into trouble. I'm
Well,
trying to be
What
as
we're gonna
honest
do is we're gonna
as.
look at any kind of record we can to solve this case. Regardless,
Well, that's what I'm
you know how many
saying.
people
I'm
I've had in
trying-
here sit right there and told me the same story just like you're telling me. And they tried to convince me. And then in the end, when the evidence come in, they sat there and we knew all along they were lying. We knew all along the story was made up. I tell you, we're gonna piece this together, and I've done told you that. I give you warning and tried to let you know. I mean, you can be the hero or you can be the villain, because things are just not piecing together with your story. But you're not a suspect right now. You're still, until we find him, we piece it together. You're a victim.
I want to do anything possible to find him. That's my husband, and I love him. I want him found. If there's anything that I'm not.
Okay. Well, and like I
Giving
said,
you that I could
I'm not
possibly
accusing
give
you.
No, I know, but I'm trying to
this.
be as cooperative as possible, and my nerves are worked up like crazy. I've never been through anything like this in my life.
Okay, and I'm not accusing you of doing it. I'm just telling you the facts that we found. I'm just wanting to be honest with you.
And I
let
appreciate
you know
it.
this is a little strange, but I mean, it certainly is doable. I mean, so we're just. And another thing you got to remember, the best way to prove that you didn't do this or have anything to do with it is to prove you're innocent. So we're going to work hard because if we can't find you guilty, then that's going to mean you're innocent. So that's just the way that we work. I mean, but a lot of time in the process, I'm just trying to tell you, when we find him, which we will, if we've caught you in any kind of lie at all, the DA's going to issue a warrant for you and arrest you.
Of course. How long does that usually take? And
I don't know. We're working
in a
on it.
case like this, what if he owns that he's going to come out alive?
I don't know. I have no idea. We're hoping he's still alive, but because that way he can tell us the story. But I'll be honest with you, I'm not real hopeful. I'm not real hopeful that we're gonna find him alive.
Wohlford's grief isn't very convincing. She may be putting a lot of effort into her facial expressions, but there are no tears to match.
Here's the thing. That's
Is
why.
there that much blood?
Samantha, that's why it's very important, because people, for some reason, withhold information because they're scared. And that's why I just feel that you probably know more than you're telling us. And that's why I don't want you to be scared. I want you to be completely, frankly honest, because, Sam, that's honesty is always the best policy. We don't want you to get in here and make up some story because you're scared. Because if you know something that you're not telling us, and I think you do, I think there's more to this than you're telling us. I'm not saying you're a complete liar and you fabricated the whole thing. You could have. I'm not saying you did. This is what I'm saying. You've got a chance to tell us right now and be the hero in this deal. I think there's more. I've done this a long time. I'm reading your body language. We're going to piece this thing together. Listen, Sam.
And I'll help every way I can.
Mm-hmm.
I'll help every way I can.
I just think there's still something that you probably know that you're not telling us. And that does not make you guilty. That does not make you, if he's dead, that does not make you a murderer. But you've got to understand, you've got children.
I know.
And I don't want to see all of a sudden we find him, let's say that he's dead. Let's hope he's alive. But then all of a sudden we find out your story, that you knew something, and then the issues a warrant. Guess what? It's going to be at least 20 years before you can be able to touch your kids again. They'll have grandchildren. You'll have grandchildren before you'll even get to touch them. They won't let you do when you get a murder charge. They ain't no touching people in prison.
I didn't kill him.
Well, but that's the thing. You don't have to kill him. I don't think you did. Now, I'm going to tell you right now.
I don't have a promise. I have not touched him.
I know, Sam, I I believe you. Here's my problem. Your story's not matching. I think you could be the hero and help us solve this thing quick.
If there's anything I can do, if I could ride in the vehicle with you and go to wherever it is his cell phone is pinging, I will go and I will help everybody I can.
Now, we have to, all it does is gives us general area, then we gotta find him.
And I will help any way I can. If
right
it's an area
now,
I
we've got
know,
the general area.
if it's an area I know that I might possibly have.
But I can't do that though, because then, if you were there, then it could taint our crime scene. You see what I'm saying?
Well, I'm just telling you, if it's an area that I possibly know, that I might have some idea.
And this is why, and Sam, I'm not in here trying to stress you out, get you to confess something you didn't do. That is not what I'm trying to do, and I would never want you to do that. I personally do not think you hurt this young man.
They said a name, and that's the only name I know.
Okay. I'm just thinking there's probably something here, because this just ain't normal that happens around here. This stuff at the house, the blood being in his truck. I just have a funny feeling that there's something you're not telling me that you could tell me, and you're afraid it's going to make you look guilty. And it's not, unless you did it, and I don't think you did it. Now, Sam, won't you talk to me now? What is it that you're scared that you're not telling me? There's something.
I'm scared that y'all are going to try and find me guilty for this.
No,
when all I am is
oh, you know what?
a living wife.
But you know what? Here's the thing,
I'm
Sam.
scared that y'all get
No, I don't want to find you guilty. I want to prove you innocent. I want to prove you guilty. The evidence is what will prove when we find him. And that's all I'm worried about. If you are telling us the gospel truth, then you have nothing to worry about. Nothing. But if you're not, you've got plenty to worry about. That's all I'm saying. I'm not going to try to come headhunt you just to solve a case. That is not going to happen. We've got, well, out of all the cases we've worked, we've only got one unsolved in my whole career, which is hundreds. So is this going to be the second one? I kind of doubt it. Could be. Who knows? I doubt it. I think we've got enough evidence. I think we're going to clear this thing up. But a lot of the times when stuff like this happens, the spouses or the girlfriends or whatever, there's more that went on, and we always find out. Because they always get together, oh, well, this is a story we'll tell you, you stick to it, don't you change. Well, actually, that's kind of the best thing that happens to us, because then when you stick to your story like that, and then we piece it in the end all together, then it's real easy to take this to a jury and show that either you are a liar or that you were the loving wife that you said you were.
I'm not going to care and tell you I'm a loving wife. We've had our go-bouts.
Now, I'm not saying
We've had our fights.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying having fights is that happens to all of us as married. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you know more about what happened to this young man and you're not telling us, it always comes out, and people always get together. Oh, well, let's don't change your story. This is what we'll tell them, and then the evidence always proves that they're lying when we find them, if they are lying. And that's why I say this is not a normal thing that happens. The blood in the truck, the way he was taking your kids never woke up, the whole story. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but I'm just saying that's just why I strongly was urging you.
There's
to just be
breaks
honest.
In the wall where there was a big fight upstairs and the kids didn't wake up. Are you telling me that was fabricated?
No, you don't put words in my mouth. I'm not saying you fabricated it. Listen to me now. I'm not trying to accuse you of doing this. I'm not trying to accuse you of fabricating. I'm just telling you that a lot of the cases we've worked, and when we feel something's not right, a lot of the times something's not right. Now sometimes
and I may
something's
know
wrong.
something that I don't even realize I know.
Well, and that could be possible. But I'm not saying
at this particular time, I'm giving you everything I've got.
Okay.
If something pops up later that I find out or I realize, I will be the first person to come forward because I want it found.
So let me ask you something. How did you call for help if you was tied up?
I use my nose.
So they didn't take your phone in. They left your phone there.
They asked me if I had a phone, and I told them no. And they asked him,
so
and
how'd
I told
you
him
get to
no.
it? How'd you get to it?
I wiggled on my side.
Where was it?
The room.
Where was
I
it?
was on this side of the upstairs, and it was shoved up underneath the edge of the bed on this side of the upstairs.
Is that where you keep it, or do you do that during a fight?
No, it fell off the bed. When they grabbed a hold of me, I felt it slide because I usually keep it under
So
my
why didn't you
pillow.
wake your kids up? Why didn't you go there and hit them and get them up? How old are your kids?
7, 3, and 1, and I was terrified that with what they were putting me and their parent, me and their dad through.
Because I don't
want
think
them
you wake
hurt.
them up and get them to untie you and call 911. Who did you call?
My mother was the first number on my call list. I just used my face. And
So instead of calling 911 for help, you called your mother?
The detective is understandably skeptical. The emergency number would have been easier to call and would have gotten help to arrive quickly.
how do you press 911 with your face?
Well, how did you dial your mother with your face?
I didn't dial my mother. I just pushed the first thing that was on there. It had just happened to be my mom.
Well, so you pushed it?
Yeah, I just pushed my face against the phone. And that's the number it picked. I didn't try any particular one. I was just trying to call anyone.
Oh, okay. So you didn't mean to call your mama?
No, I was just calling anybody.
See, 'cause I don't understand why you wake your 7-year-old up and say, hey, call 911, we got help. See, that's what I'm saying. Little things like this is what really, really looks odd. Still, it don't make you guilty. I'm not saying you did it.
Who wants their 7-year-old? How do you
I
explain
would.
that
If
to
I was
me?
tied up and I was afraid my spouse was fixing to die, I'd be waking my 7-year-old up and saying, hey,
That thought
call
never
911
even
and
crossed
untie
my
me.
mind. My thought was get to the phone and get help. Never wake the kids up. That was never, that all along that was my big deal. Like, I didn't want them up. I didn't want them involved. If they were coming back, I didn't even want them to know there was kids in the house.
Well, weren't they in the same room?
No,
Oh, I thought your kids was in the same room with you.
no.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood then. I thought you had stated that they were.
They were in my upstairs. You'll see.
I'm gonna go up there in a minute. I've just been outside. I haven't been in your house
big,
yet.
long.
Uh-huh.
My bed is over here. They had me tied up here, and their bedroom is over here. So I squirmed over and got my phone and drug it out with my teeth and flipped it open with my face and hit the dial button.
Okay. Okay, so you didn't dial with your nose.
No, I just pushed the buttons and got it to whoever it called was who it called, and from there it's give me help. I'm stuck. I'm tied up. They took my husband. I don't know what to do. Get someone here. My mom just happens to be the most frequent one on the call.
Whose numbers are we gonna find that phone that you've been talking to?
Quite a few. I talked to a lot of people.
Any guys?
That are of any importance? No.
Okay.
There's a guy named Brian that I've talked to, and he's a friend of my mother's.
What did you talk to him about?
I met him at the bar.
He's a friend of your mother's, but you met him at the bar?
It's a small town, and a lot of people know each other. My mom and my sister go up to this particular bar a lot, and they introduced me to him. And he liked me, so he wanted to hang out again. So I called him, or he called me, and I got my number, asked me for a number. Hey, I called you, got my number now, and texted me.
Where's Brian live at?
Out by Jefferson.
Hmm?
Out by Jefferson. I don't know exactly. I've never been to his house. I've only met him twice at the bar. I never hung out with him after the first time, and then I ran into him again
Which
a second
bar?
time. I think it's called the Tavern.
Where's it at?
Right outside of Lake of the Pines, like Jefferson and Lake of the Pines are two little bitty. Everybody knows where Jefferson is.
So you have been talking to him on your phone?
Yes.
When's the last time you talked to him?
I don't know. A few days ago, maybe.
Okay. Because it's going to be on your phone. We'll see it.
Yeah. God, most people I talk to on Facebook, there's not really that many people I talk to that, my mom mostly.
Wohlford insists that they will not find anything incriminating on her phone, although she has to realize that any of her attempts to erase information will be detected.
I really don't have that many friends.
except for Brian that you met in the bar and your mama.
You said guys. I'm trying to be honest, and he's
Okay.
a guy that I've spoken with. Like I said, he's nobody important. You can contact him if you need to.
Have you ever, well, yeah, we're gonna have to, I mean, but have you ever had any, did you ever kiss him or?
No.
Anything like that?
No.
No sex involved?
No. As far as any
So what was
time that I've
what was your
ever,
call? Did you call him or he called you?
he called me to give me his number, and then basically it's been texting back and forth. I don't think we've ever actually talked on the
Well,
phone.
what would y'all talk about? What in the text?
How are things at home? I'm bored. I miss you. You're beautiful.
What would you text back?
Thanks. That's flattering.
Nobody else we're gonna find in that phone?
I sent a picture to my sister's boyfriend, Sebastian
But what's Brian's last name?
King.
Brian King?
Oh, no. I don't know Brian's last name. That's how well I know this guy. I don't know his last name.
Who's King? Who's the King you don't know?
My sister's boyfriend, I sent him a picture of himself at the bar.
What's his name?
Sebastian King.
Sebastian King? He ain't kin to Roger King, is he?
I don't know.
You know Roger?
No, I've
There is
only
a
met
Roger
Sebastian.
King. Okay.
My sister's husband, we had a short conversation.
So your mama's gonna know this Brian?
Yes.
Okay. Where does he work at, do you know?
He works for an electric company. He has a friend, Alan, that also, now that you said, where does he work? His friend Alan is in my phone, and Alan called me twice. I don't think he ever texted me, but he called me twice. And he works for the pipelines.
What's he do for the pipelines?
I don't honestly know. I just know he works for the pipelines. And
Does
he
he-
also lives out by Jefferson. Basically, any new friend I've got here recently is from Jefferson.
Okay, so Alan, you know Alan's last name?
No,
So then why would Alan call you?
because he was hitting on me and trying to get with me and thinks that I'm married to a jerk.
Well, now see here's something else I don't understand. Maybe you can help explain it to me. You talked about how much you love Ernie, right?
Mhm.
But though you're talking to Brian, you're talking to Alan, they're
I'm
sweet
not allowed to
talking
have
you.
friends because I'm married.
Oh no. No, not that kind of friend. When people like you, no, do you think that's normal for married people to
In
have
the
friends
world
like that?
nowadays, in general, I think more people our age. I wish I could marry somebody like my dad, who
Who's your dad?
Ed Wohlford.
I don't guess I know that. He live here?
Yeah, well, he did. He's in Jefferson with my mother now.
Oh, okay.
But he's great to my mother. There's nobody else ever that could turn his eyes from her. He's the perfect husband.
Okay.
God knows I didn't marry one. He cheated on me more than once, and I think every once in a while to hear that I'm beautiful and to hear that I am an attractive person and that I am not the most horrible person in the world, it's nice. Did I ever do anything other than tell them, hey, that's flattering, I appreciate it, it's really sweet to hear that? No. I never tried in any way to lead them on.
But they had your phone number though, they'd call you. Okay. So we've got Brian, we've got Alan. Anybody else?
Like I said, my sister's boyfriend Sebastian, I sent him a picture message. My older daughter's father is in there a few times that I've texted him.
Did Ernie ever look at your phone?
Yes, all the time.
Did he see those messages where you've been talking to them guys?
Yeah.
What'd he say?
Nothing. He didn't particularly like it, but after what he put me through, he told me as long as I didn't bring anything home or do anything at the house, then he didn't want to hear about it. He didn't want to know about it. And I told him, I'm not cheating on you. Yeah, these guys tell me I'm beautiful and they tell me that I'm, and I go out to my mom's house and I go to the bar and I go dancing. And yeah, I may have a little too much to drink and someone says, hey, can I have your number? And I may give it to them. But that's as far as it goes.
Brian works for an electric company up there?
Mhm.
He seemed like a pretty good guy.
Yeah, I mean, I met him at a bar, so obviously I can't put
Well, that don't make him
such
bad,
stuff.
though.
Well,
That
no,
don't
but I
make him
can't
bad.
sit there and say, oh yeah, he's a great guy, because I don't know him. I've only met him a few times. Actually, it was only the one time, and then he texted me a couple of times, and I didn't hear from him again. And then I went up there.
So how did Alan
Valentine's
get your number?
I went up there Valentine's Day, and there was a fight at that bar over my sister. And Alan was friends with the guy that tried to hit me in the face. And he came out and was apologizing to me, telling me, I know this is crazy, and I know things are bad, but he's a good guy. And I'm like, yeah, he just tried to beat my face in because I told him not to talk to my sister that way. He seems like a good guy. And he asked me if he could get my number so he could check in on me later.
After searching her phone, the police concluded that Wohlford did not have very many interactions with men. They also noticed that Wohlford greatly exaggerated any interest they may have shown her.
So I gave him my number.
Okay. Nobody else we're gonna find on the phone? I mean,
As far as guys are concerned, I think that's it. I mean, I can't tell you everyone that I've talked to in the last 6 months. I can't remember.
okay.
I've got my entire Facebook attached to my cell phone. Like, it updates my contact list.
Well, hey, in your statement, you might want to just go ahead and write in there after you talk about what happened to that. You might just want to talk about and put in there that you have been friends with. Because who's to say that one of these guys didn't set it up to try to get you where you're single and I can come in and get you and just use that as a ploy.
See, and that's what I'm saying. I may know something without even realizing
Yeah.
I know something. But, yeah, I have quite a few friends. And he's not a very well-liked guy.
Who, Ernie?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just write the whole thing down, who you've been talking to after you talk about what happened tonight. And be very detailed now. And then put Brian's name, how you met him. Put Alan's name, how you met him. Where you think they live, where they work.
I have no
You may need
idea
more
where they
paper.
live. This isn't my statement. He just asked me to give names of people that would be in contact with Dagon. Like friends, family, bosses.
Okay.
Um,
Let's say he may want you to go ahead and write a statement too.
well, I wrote a statement on the scene. He told me I didn't have to. But if I need to add something, I don't mind adding.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You might need to add something because I think it would be good for
beneficial
you.
to know this.
Well, yeah. I mean, because Samantha, the last thing we want to do is
I know
if you
that.
didn't have anything to do with it, the last thing we want to do is try to make you look guilty.
I know that in October things blew up. He laid his hands on me. I put criminal trespass on him, not on his sister, because she was acting crazy and harassing me. Someone broke into my house. That may be something that's validified. Someone broke into my house over October. I went to my mother's house for Halloween. Someone broke into my house. I have 2 busted out windows. You can see that on the front. They're boarded up. I sealed them. I tried to do my best until the insurance came through. Well, he also had been picked up for being at my house while there was a protective order in effect.
Who, Ernie?
Yes. I was okay with it. We were trying to work things out, and nobody but me, him. That's another guy. Oh my God. Okay. Me and him knew about it. My friend David Smith had talked to me earlier, said he might come by later that night. I told him it was probably not the best idea. What? Ernie gonna be there?
Who's this David Smith?
He called in and reported that he was there. Then, when he realized that I intended on giving him the chance to be the better person he says he's going to be, and to go through the criminal trespass or the anger management courses and go through and do what he says he's going to do, and I'm going to give him that chance out of home on his own without having a judge to force him to do it.
So Ernie's got a lot of anger issues.
Yes,
Is he jealous?
severe. Yes,
Is he very
severe.
jealous of you?
Yes. David Smith hit him up because me and him had been hanging out. I hadn't intended on ever hearing from Dagon again, Ernie. I had never intended on speaking to him again. He cheated on me and he laid his hands on me. I was done. Well, his sister talked his way back in. He said he loves you, blah, blah, blah. He wants to be with you. Well, I was on a Skype conversation with him, and David was at the house, and he heard it.
What did he do?
He got freaking furious and started freaking out on me and treating me like crap and threatening me. I told him to get off my property or I'd have an officer escort him, and that he was not allowed back on my property, or he'd have a police officer escort him off the premises.
So he was afraid you were going to cheat on him?
No. David, the friend, not Ryan or Alan, David, this guy that was a friend and only a friend, wanted to be with me. And when he realized that I had intended on going back to my husband, he freaked out. I told him not to come back on my property, ever. That I didn't want anything else to do with him. Don't call me, don't text me.
Well, wasn't Ernie jealous of David since he was wanting you?
Honestly, no, because David's not the type I would ever look at. But David hit him up and told him that I had been sleeping with him and all this other stuff. Went up to his job and gave him his number. I met up with him at some point in time because I saw the text messages on Ernie's old phone. They met up at a park, and David was telling him that I'm this crazy pill popper, and on and on and on and on and on, and trying to twist his head.
The police interviewed everyone with the slightest connections with Ibarra and couldn't find anyone to corroborate Wohlford's story.
Well,
where's David live at?
I'm honestly not sure. I know it's somewhere not far from where I live, in that general area, but I've never been to his house. David is friends with Jeremy. David told me that Jeremy's the one that broke into my house. I confronted Dagon about it because his car, David called in and reported Rule. Okay, his car was left at my house when he was picked up for protective order. He sent his sister out to my house to get his car, etc., etc. I told her I wasn't giving her anything of his. She called an officer out to my house. I asked the officer to go ahead and put a criminal trespass on her because she's harassing me. He showed me pictures in his phone, Ernie, showed me pictures in his phone where his sister had been taking pictures of my house and sending to him to try and cause problems. Oh, well, she has friends over. Obviously, she's not too broken up about this. You need to move on, blah, 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 trying to cause problems. So I was like, I don't want criminal trespass. I want no more contact with her. Well, then from there, David went to Dagon with this story. Well, then Dagon came out to the house, and David called the police and informed them that he was there. David told me this himself. The police told me that it was an anonymous tip, but David told me that he's the one that called. Because he had asked me, at the time I thought he was a really good friend of mine, and he had asked me where he was at, and I said he's in the shower. I was honest with him because I thought he was a good friend of mine. I didn't know that he was going to be acting crazy. It was after that he freaked out and did donuts in my front yard and everything else. It was after that I realized what a crazy psycho he was.
So we got David Smith, then this Rule boy?
I'm getting to that part. Jeremy
Rule?
I'm getting to that part. And they're from here. David Smith acted crazy, tried his hardest to split me and him up. When that didn't work, he got with this girl named Cheryl, who I went to school with. I've known her my whole life. She started dating him. I contacted her and I was like, are you crazy? Do you know how nuts he is? She told me that he had never done anything to her and she was going to be believing the benefit of the doubt. Then I started getting messages on my phone.
And who's this girl?
Cheryl Smith.
They're
not married.
Do you know her number?
It was in my old phone. I don't know if it's in my new phone.
Okay.
But
I need to find out where David lives. If you say he lives close to you, I need to find out where he lives at. So you're saying
Jeremy Rule also lives close to me. I'm getting to that point. Cheryl started dating him. Sorry, I am having such problems keeping my head straight. Cheryl started dating him. Jesus H. Cheryl started dating him, and I tried warning her that he was crazy, and she wouldn't listen. Well, then I started getting these weird messages from this number I didn't know. First, they said their name was Kevin Woods, and they were inquiring about the truck I was selling. Then they tried saying, we had a little conversation, and he said something about David Smith. Then I was like, let me tell you a little something about David Smith. He's crazy, etc., etc. Well, that conversation ended, and we didn't talk from that point.
So you think David could have said something like this to that?
It is possible. He has
Out
lost
of
his
him or Jeremy
temper.
Rule, who do you think would be the one?
David.
You think David would?
Jeremy would just straight up shoot him. Jeremy's the type that's not going to get into this physical confrontation or anything like that. He would just straight up shoot somebody. David,
Write down
his
the names for me.
ex-girlfriend's name is Kayla Dean, and you can ask her about David. He has beat her up. He has smashed her things.
Write her name here. Do you have her phone number?
I don't know her phone number. I've only spoken to her once, but I have seen the damage he has done to her personal effects. I've seen the damage he did to a house out in Detroit.
Okay.
Kayla, I believe her last name is Dean, but it might be a middle name.
Okay, write that down for me. And she was tied into David Smith.
David Smith. She's his
All right,
previous
put David
ex.
Smith
She
right
got
below her.
rid of him because he was crazy.
Okay, put David Smith right below her.
His name is actually Michael David Smith or David Michael Smith. I'm not sure which it is because he goes by Michael and he goes by David.
Okay, just put David Michael Smith and we'll swap the names around because we're going to have to go find him in a minute.
Cheryl told me that he sexually assaulted her kids. This is after the fact. She
So is he a
tells
sex
me,
offender or is he
I don't
arrested?
know.
Wohlford has attempted to shift attention away from herself by mentioning people who have no connection to the case. At best, the only thing she can hope to achieve is to buy time while the police eliminate them as suspects.
David
I don't
Michael
know.
Smith or either Michael David Smith. They've got now so we're going to separate these two because these two are together. Now put
No. These two are not together.
Well, I mean they were. They have
This is his
ties.
previous girlfriend, and
Yeah,
his
that's
new
previous.
girlfriend's name is Cheryl
Cheryl who?
Smith.
Okay, put
Not,
Cheryl
they're
Smith
not
right
married
below
or
her.
anything.
Right. But I just need to keep all these guys together because this is going to let me know who I need to go look up here in a minute. So Cheryl Smith, where's she live at?
Mount Vernon. I don't know her exact address or anything, but it's Mount Vernon. Anyway, I've known this girl long enough and wanted to forewarn her what kind of crazy she was stepping into.
And these two live here?
I don't know where Kayla lives. I know she's got a crazy ass record. Drugs and all kinds of stuff. And
Okay, now who's this other guys that you're talking about?
Jeremy
Brian,
Rule.
Jeremy. Okay, go ahead. Write his name. Just do a space there.
Jeremy and David used to be best friends. They used to talk about a lot of crap. I mean, yeah, you talk about, oh my God, I want to kill that person so much. Do you know what they did? That doesn't mean you mean anything by it, but they have, I've heard a lot of things like that out of them.
Okay. And now both of these, David and Jeremy, you think live over close to you? But
They
you
do.
didn't- but you
Jeremy
can't tell me where they
lives, I
live?
can tell you where Jeremy lives.
Where's he live at?
There is my house is here.
Uh-huh.
The vet clinic is over here. There's like a
Uh-huh.
little road right here by the vet clinic.
Uh-huh.
You go down that road and you make a turn and it's like right past the vet clinic, there's a county road 33 something or another, not far past the vet clinic on the side with the vet clinic. And his house is like the only house on that road.
Okay,
His
well,
mother's name is Barbara Rule. She, I believe, owns the property. He is paranoid as hell. He's on every kind of drug you can imagine. He
but you
sells.
don't think he would do this?
If it was him, I would say he would shoot someone, and that would be that.
So you think the main culprit would be this
It would
David?
be David. He's crazy. I've seen the damage he's done to properties.
Okay, do you know his phone
and-
number?
Jeremy's?
Mhm.
It would be in my cell phone.
Okay.
I don't know anybody's number by heart, other than my mother's.
Okay. Well, all these names, try to remember, go ahead and put them on here too.
Okay.
Would you? I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay, just wait. I'm gonna let you think for a minute.
I hadn't finished telling you
Oh, I'm sorry.
everything. So Cheryl hits me up. After I hit Cheryl up, I got a crazy number messaging me. Then it went from, hey, this is Kevin Wood, blah, 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 to, hey, tell Dagon I said hi. And I was like, who are you and how do you know my husband? And then he sends back, ha, ha, ha. So I call, and it sounded like his voice on the voicemail. And I'm pretty good with voices. And I called Cheryl, and I was like, what's your man's number? Did he get a number change? Why? Well, because this new number has been texting me, and I called it, and it sounds like his voicemail on the voicemail. What's the number? What's the last 4 digits? And I tell her, let me get off of here. I'll call you back, and hangs up. I've never heard from her since. I've not heard from him since then, but I'm sure it caused a lot of problems in their relationship.
Who's you talking to? Who is the female?
Cheryl.
Oh, Cheryl.
She's
Okay.
the one I've known. I went to school with her little brother. We were real good friends.
And to make sure I'm playing, you were talking about who? Who is she mad about?
David.
David. Okay.
And Jeremy, okay, the reason I would say it's possible with Jeremy is because when his car got left at my house, after the protective order, David called and had him picked up for the protective order. Car was left at my house. Went out of town for October 31st, Halloween, with my kids to Jefferson with my mother. Spent the weekend there. Came home, the car was gone, and the house had been broken into and trashed. I called him immediately, screaming and yelling, freaking out. Who did you have come get your car? Blah, 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 blah. He laughed at me. Talk about Ernie.
Mm-hmm.
He laughed at me, told me basically that he woke up and it was there. Well, after me throwing a fit, somebody broke into my house. I want to know who did it. He said Jeremy did it. Jeremy came to me like 3 days ago. He saw me out on the road checking the mail. He was driving by. He stopped.
What kind of car does he drive, or truck, whatever?
He's got like 5. He was towing a boat that time.
Okay.
Told me that he had these things he had to do, blah, 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 as far as work was concerned, but we needed to talk because he knows the truth about what happened at my house now, and it wasn't him. And I said, I'm just telling you what Aaron told me. This is just, comes from him. I don't know who to believe. I know who I want to believe. I know you've been a friend of mine for a long time, and I don't want to believe that of you. But at the same time, this is my husband. I don't want to believe he'd be lying to me either. So I want the bottom rocket truth. I want to know the truth about what happened in my house, why it was broken into, and why my shit was torn all to hell. And he said, well, I'll come by and talk to you about that. But we'll get shit straight. And I ain't heard from him since then either.
This is Jeremy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So how long ago has this been?
Like 2 days ago.
Oh, 2 days ago, okay.
So
Right.
That's why I said, I mean, it could be because he was pretty mad that Dagon said that he's
So
the
did
one that
any of
broke
these
into
sound
my
like it might have been
house.
them under the mask?
Size-wise, it could have been Jeremy.
Wohlford doesn't even waste a chance to place suspicion on someone else, although she is careful to express just enough doubt in case the police are easily able to rule him out.
But voice-wise, I would say no. Because these were some fairly large dudes, and you'll see Jeremy's pretty big guy.
What I need you to do now, be sure to write all these names down. 'Cause this is going to help us, okay? And I'll be right back. I'm gonna leave you alone so you can finish up there.
I'm fixing to have to go to the bathroom again.
Okay,
This
okay.
coffee is going through me.
Okay.
And actually, it would be very nice to have another cup that's starting to get cold.
Okay, hold on a second. Just right now, I'll be.
Wohlford has been lying through her teeth, and she is prepared to throw anyone under the bus to save herself. Will she be able to convince the detectives that she was a victim? In part 2, you can watch as Wohlford's lies become unraveled under questioning. Thanks again for tuning in. Drop a like if you like this video, and check out my Patreon page if you want to support the channel even more. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.